Hello, my name is Susan Neal, and I'm going to tell you about how I lost my health. It all happened when I was 49. That was 8 years ago. And November of that year, I had a tooth that needed a crown. And so a month later, I started having 2 menstrual cycles a month. And that lasted for the next 15 months until I had to have surgery to have 2 uterine polyps removed. 2 months after my crown, I started experiencing depression, and I craved chocolate. I was just binging on Ghirardelli chocolate every night. 2 months later, I experienced an ovarian cyst, and then after that, it was adrenal fatigue. Now, what the doctors did for me with the adrenal fatigue is I had to take 3 adrenal fatigue vitamins per day, but I had to take them 5 times per day. So it was 3 different vitamins 5 times a day, so 15 adrenal fatigue vitamins a day. The doctors also prescribed progesterone cream because I had the ovarian cyst and I was experiencing a hormonal imbalance because I was going through perimenopause. No one understood how depleted my body was. I was exhausted. In July of that year, I started having a flash of light in the left side of my eye when I turned my head sharply to the left. It ended up being a hole in my retina, and I finally went to the doctor 2 months later about it, and the doctor would not let me leave the eye facility without having laser surgery because hole in the retinas lead to a detached retina, which is blindness. And even today, if I turn my head sharply to the left, I still have a blind spot in my eye. And I'll never regain that vision. In August, I began experiencing visual migraines, but I had never had headaches before, nor migraines. Then I went to the dentist and I told them, oh, I have a bump above this tooth that y'all crowned. And they're like, ooh, it's never good if you have a bump above your tooth. And it ended up being an abscessed tooth, and that bump had like a hole, and it had drained all the putrid fluid into my gastrointestinal system. So they sent me to the endodontist, and he did an emergency root canal. He gave me 10 days of antibiotics and 2 weeks of a Medrol dose pack, which is prednisone, which is a steroid. And I had a bad reaction to that. I started getting mania with just up and down symptoms. They were just terrible. I had to stop it a little bit early. Then that month, that August, I had turned 50 and I had lost my health. I had no idea how precious my health was until it was gone. And a friend of mine for my birthday gave me this beautiful verse. And it said, it's Isaiah 40:13. And it says, those who hope in the Lord will renew their strength. They will soar on wings like eagles. They will run and not grow weary. They will walk and not be faint. This gave me hope. I kept it near my bedside and just really relied on the Lord and just hoped that someday I would be able to run and not grow weary, and I'd be able to walk and not be faint. So I understand the devastating effects of being sick. The next month in September, my doctors found that I was anemic and I also had low vitamin D, so they gave me supplements for that. But in the fall, I continued to just really feel very, very sick and utterly drained. So the doctors didn't seem to be able to do much more for me, so I decided to try out some alternative healthcare methods. So I had acupuncture, and then I went for massages, and then I thought, well, I'll try a colonic irrigation, which is like a royal enema. And I did that because I knew I had the putrid fluid that drained from my gum into my gastrointestinal system. Well, the colonic therapist found that I had an overgrowth of Candida in my colon. And Candida is a type of yeast that grows in your gastrointestinal tract. Usually it's in balance, but when you take antibiotics, which I had just taken a bunch of antibiotics for my abscessed tooth, then what happens is the good bacteria it dies, and the bad bacteria, Candida, overgrows. And that's what happened. And you know, I had never heard of a candidiasis infection before, even though I'm a registered nurse. And when I went to my internal medicine doctor and told him about this, he didn't know how to treat me either, because this is not treated in mainstream medicine. We're not taught about that. Also, a Candida infection is common sometimes in women after they have antibiotics. It's a vaginal yeast infection. So ultimately, what had occurred in my body was poisoning from the abscessed tooth, and I had 10 different medical diagnoses. And it was bi-monthly periods from 2 uterine polyps that I had to have surgery to remove, depression, ovarian cyst, adrenal fatigue, hormonal imbalance, a retinal tear that I had to have surgery for, visual migraine, anemia, low vitamin D, and candidiasis of the colon. Now, with this last diagnosis, the overgrowth of the Candida, my colonic therapist taught me about an Anti-Candida diet where you starve out the yeast, because the yeast, Candida, likes to eat sugar, fruits, refined carbohydrates, alcohol, anything that turns to sugar. That's what Candida likes. It's like a monster growing inside of you, and you don't even know you have it. Now, in my book, 7 Steps to Get Off Sugar and Carbohydrates, I tell you all about that and how you can figure out if you have this monster growing inside of you too. And there's like a little test that you can take in there to figure that out. So what I did is, for the following 8 months, I went on this Anti-Candida diet. No flour, no sugar, no white rice, basically nothing white. And I had to starve it out. No alcohol. If you wanted to drink alcohol, only vodka. The doctor said only vodka. And the following 8 months, I struggled. I had 2 good days, 1 bad day, 3 bad days, 1 good day. It just was back and forth and back and forth. But after 8 months, I regained my health, because you see, God gives us glorious bodies, and if we give it the right building blocks, if we know what to do to heal our bodies, we can. Because just like if we get a cut, and it heals, it grows a scab, and God created our bodies to heal. Just like if we have a sprained ankle, it heals with time. So 2 years after all of this happened, I found this wonderful verse. It's 2 Corinthians 1, 3, and 4. God offers comfort to all. God is our merciful Father and the source of all comfort. He comforts us in all our troubles so that we can comfort others. When they are troubled, we will be able to give them the same comfort God has given us. You see, I understand the devastating effects of being ill, and my desire is to help others reclaim their health as I did mine. So I hope you will join me on this journey to reclaim your health.